Darren Drozdov. And I
Yeah,
don't know how many people
great guy.
know. Yeah, I don't know how many people know that he actually spent some time in ECW a few months in early 1998. Your memories
Yes,
of Droz, if you could.
loved him. He was one of those guys that had that personality that could walk into a room. And the ECW dressing room was a bit intimidating. If you weren't there at the ground level, walking into that room and you got all these monsters and sourpusses sitting around. Sourpuss like Bandit and Face and Taz. Taz was always mad about something. Uh, and you'd walk into there, but he just sort of just like melted into it. Like because he was just one of those guys everybody liked to be around. Uh, when he had his injury, this had happened previous with the Rockers back when I was there in '90. I think they paralyzed. I feel so. I'm horrible with names. I can't remember the
Chuck
kid's
Austin, I
name.
think, was the name.
Yes, I knew it. I was thinking Austin. I couldn't remember Chuck, but you're right. And as soon as it happened, you see everything just go limp. And my first thought was, well, that's a great sell. And then he's not moving, and he's not moving. So when this happened to Droz, I didn't know the other kid. I mean, I knew him like faced in his dressing room, that kind of thing. But Droz had that personality that I would think that you could tend to get pretty bitter over something like that. And the few times that I'd seen Droz since the accident, he was the same Droz. Just smiling and cutting up, and you had to listen close because he might throw a zinger in there and stuff. I got a text on the way driving down to Moose's here yesterday that he had passed, and I was just like, wow, because last I saw him, had that like cart, it was sort of like a little tank thing that drove around and everything. And he was always so upbeat. And, you wonder in hindsight, has there been any word yet on what happened? How did he die?
No, I don't. I mean, I know very roughly. I'm sure you do as well. That when you're paraplegic, that sort of like kicks in a host of other health
Sure, of
issues as well. I don't know.
course.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been released yet at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I do know that when I saw the last I saw was probably been 6, 7 years, maybe a little bit shorter than that. Was asking him, he said the WWE was taking good care of him. He was getting good care, like that cart that he drove around in that they had gotten for him. But he didn't at all seem bitter, and I think, I know the kind of jerk I am. I probably would have gotten bitter, to have this incredible career. You're in front of in the NFL of our industry. And for something like that, and all of a sudden, boom, it's all taken away. And not just this, but being able to walk up and down stairs, being able to do simple, basic things for yourself. So, boy, the travails that Darren had to live with, since then, I think it's a testament to his fortitude and and to his family and to his fans out there. Deepest condolences because he really was a good dude. People hear me say that a lot because and there are a lot of good guys in our business and a lot of schmucks too, like right. But he's one of those guys that you'll miss, and he'd go to the ring and he'd work hard. He loved wrestling. He loved being in front of the fans, as I remember. And having seen him that last time and seeing just how strong of a person he was, it was that kind of stuff rubs off on me. Like I'm not lost on that because it's. I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and having been to Nigeria and some other African countries, and some poor nations, and these poor people don't have a thing, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're just so full of life and love, and it's really something to see. And I guess to a lesser degree, like when you're watching Draws, and the way he dealt with that, and just carried it with him, obviously, but never seemed bitter to me. And it's a sad day, because our business in the last, like you said, there's been, feels like sort of in the '90s when we had that waves that would just keep coming and coming, and it seems like we're getting into another period like that. I hope we're wrong.
To add on what you just said there, I think it's when you've got almost nothing or something else has been something's been taken away from you. You can go one of two ways. You rightly say, you can get bitter, or you can be thankful for what you've still got. And it
Sure.
seems that
Yeah.
Droz has done that. I want to make mention very quickly. I believe Droz was sent to the ECW. Sound like Bret Hart now. The ECW. With by the WWF. I think they picked him up and then they sent him to get some experience. He wrestled the likes of Taz, Jerry Lynn, Al Snow, New Jack, Axel Rotten, and a few others during his short time with the company. It was only a couple of months.
Yeah.
I want to ask this, and you alluded to it before. Obviously, Droz had his accident, his defining moment in his life. Sad to say.
Sure.
Did that, when you heard about that, did you or anyone that you were close with at the time see what happened and then adjust what maybe you were willing to give or take in the ring in that sense? You face your mortality more at that point, and maybe
Sure.
it changes you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I've told you before, I was a student of my game. That's what kept my intellect involved. It keep me from getting bored. And when you see something like that, now this is the second time I've seen this in my business, right? The Austin in '90 and then Droz, and Droz was, he was set to make a run to the top. He was a good hand, and but I was always thinking that because Dominic taught us, like, you'd be training in the gym and you'd go do something you saw on TV or try to do it, and boy, he would come up on those ropes. What the, he'd go off, explaining, like, do you realize how close? I had a kid in my school whenever I had the school in New Brighton, Pennsylvania, House of Hardcore 2, Brian Tutwiler, who sadly passed away about a year and a half ago from cancer. Big guy, huge. I was late getting there, and I had given one of my students a key like Dominic had given me to get the gym and stuff set up. And I walk in, and everybody's got this like hand in the cookie jar look. I'm looking around, and I look in the ring. There's glass in the ring, and there's blood in the ring. Anybody want to tell me what happened? And said that Tut, before I got there, decided he's going to, 6'6", 330, 40-pound guy, never having been trained to do this, decided he's going to try to do a moonsault because he can do a backflip in the swimming pool. And his foot hit the roof, broke the light, and came down and cut his arm on and everything. So he came back later that day. I guess he thought he was going to get sympathy, right? And I reamed him out. Same reason, right? What if you landed on your head, you moron? You could have broken your neck. And so, yeah, anytime you would see stuff like that, of course, if you're paying attention, you got to start to think, my take on ECW was as we kept ramping this up, and push, barbed wire matches, and all of a sudden now we have swinging scaffolds and flaming tables, and I mean, it just kept going and going and going. It just felt to me at the time that we were pushing a bit too hard, and for me, I was like sort of the wrestler in the middle of all that. I didn't do a whole lot of that. But still, even in, body slam, Bruno Sammartino's wasn't the lariat from Stan Hansen. It was a body slam. Mm-hmm. And, so terrible things can happen quickly. And typically when you knew a guy like Droz and saw that happen, it sort of personalized it to you, because now you know somebody that was, a vital part of this company and a living, breathing, full of life guy. Suddenly, you said his life has been altered to an extreme degree. I don't know so much if some of the other guys were picking up on that, because, guys like New Jack and Sandman and those guys were continuously ramping that up. And, hindsight's always going to be 20/20. And, you can always see it and look back and say, boy, we should have and could have and would have. But for our industry, I tell the kids this now that are like watching our business now. Understand that we are trained professionals, right? We're basically stuntmen that are trained to do this and know how to do it. And yet, as you can see from my arms and shoulders and everywhere else, we still get hurt. So when you're untrained and trying to approximate what we do, the percentage for injury risk goes much, much higher, exponentially higher. So again, to Droz's family and friends and his fans out there, and to the industry, we lost a hell of a guy, and in a far too early manner. And I think that for me is part of the reason why I was so shocked yesterday, because we've been losing guys. Dominic, my trainer, passed away a few years ago, and a lot of the giants, the guys that are getting older, is this is the course of life, passing on, and it's always sad. But when somebody Droz's age passes away, if had not been for that injury, who knows what that future would have been for him? Because he was a hell of a hand in the ring, and he had the personality that really worked in the dressing room.